everyone, this is Stan. Welcome to my free speech channel where we talk about Asian politics with main focus on Taiwan. Yesterday I had a live stream on my main channel called Stan from Poland where I was talking about one of the Taiwanese professors called Cheng, as this man, a highly educated person, a professor at one of the state universities in Taiwan, meaning his salary is also paid by the Taiwanese taxpayers, is just a puppet in the hands of the Chinese Communist Party who is selling Taiwan to the communists, and what is worse, who is making videos in English, participating in Chinese propaganda TV, giving interviews about how Taiwan should be swallowed by China and that there should be one country, two systems implemented in regards to Taiwan. Given these interviews in English, this person creates an illusion that the people in Taiwan want to join China, want to become a part of China. And so that the foreigners who probably just by an accident turn on the Chinese propaganda channel, CGTN, they see this man talking about how Taiwan should be reunified with China, how atrocious actions of the United States and Japan in the Pacific are, that the people in Taiwan are Chinese people, and that there should be a great reunification. When you see a person holding Taiwanese citizenship talking things like that, what would you think? Well, probably Taiwan really wants to join China, so we shouldn't interfere. It's not our business. It's not our country, right? Even though the people in Taiwan have been fighting for their freedom for decades already. Still, there are some pro-China clowns, even in the academia. Professors who teach students, who teach young Taiwanese people. That's not teaching, that's brainwashing. And who are just dreaming day and night how to sell out Taiwan to a totalitarian regime while living in democracy. Those people have money, they have connections, and if something bad happens to Taiwan, they'll probably just go to another country, like the United States, Canada, Australia, whatever. And while in Taiwan, they don't even consider themselves Taiwanese, and they're doing their best to make Taiwan look bad, not only in the eyes of the Taiwanese people, but also in the eyes of the Chinese people and the people all around the world. Because the people like Professor Cheng are actually giving interviews in English. You know, I'm an anti-communist, and some part of my channel's content is focused on Chinese Communist Party and what can we do to avoid being swallowed by the totalitarian regime. So sometimes I watch CGTN, because you have to know your enemy, and you have to know what kind of propaganda is your enemy using. And then last month I saw the video with Professor Cheng give an interview to a Chinese propaganda news channel, which got banned in the UK a couple of weeks ago. Does this man know how many missiles does China have currently facing Taiwan? Does this man know that China is sending their warplanes every day and also vessels to threaten Taiwan, to intimidate Taiwan? He's still holding the Taiwanese citizenship and always talking how good China is and how bad the current Taiwanese government is. And of course, he's a professor, he's a respected man, he teaches young Taiwanese for their own money on how you should be a good and obedient slave to totalitarian China, while the ordinary Taiwanese don't want to have anything in common with this totalitarian gang called the CCP. So, let's take a look. What did this guy say?
I guess the relationship for Taiwan and mainland China in the future is something that has to be worked out by both sides of the Taiwan Straits. In other words, I guess one country, two systems, or one country, two systems with a Taiwan characteristics are all possibilities that need to be worked out and has to be discussed.
This is very dangerous. One country, two systems, or one country, two systems with Taiwanese characteristics. What does it mean? Hong Kong had one country, two systems. China didn't fulfill any of their promises. No 50 years without change. They didn't guarantee the basic freedoms for the people of Hong Kong. And then, when Hong Kongers started protesting, what did China do? Oppress. And right now, Hong Kong is looking more and more like Xinjiang, with people being sent to China, probably to the concentration camps, with rigged elections, national security law under which everyone can be caught and sent to China for prosecution, and even for a lifetime to prison, with education focused on patriotic brainwashing. I think right now we'll see once vibrant and free city dying in hands of the communist gang. And this man, who wants to sell Taiwan, an independent and democratic country, out to the communist thugs, he says that he wants to have one country, two systems with Taiwanese characteristics.
But what we have here today is a scenario in which the DPP, the ruling party, forbids the media, the people, universities, intellectuals from discussing or even touching upon any of these one country, two systems formulas.
This is just a lie. The DPP, they don't forbid you from doing anything. You see, right now you're giving an interview to a Chinese communist propaganda outlet, and you're not being taken to prison, you're not being prosecuted under the anti-infiltration law or national security law. See, you're giving your opinions, to the direct enemy of Taiwan. And nothing happens to you. You still continue getting your salary from the Taiwanese taxpayers while selling Taiwan at the same time.
So I have to say that I believe Chinese on both sides of the Taiwan Straits have enough.
Chinese on the both sides of the Taiwan Strait. This is a very dangerous saying. Taiwanese people are not Chinese, they're Taiwanese. They have their own unique culture, and probably you should know that you were born in Taiwan. But there are Chinese people in Taiwan who identify themselves as Chinese. So the people who don't identify them as Chinese, they don't have any opportunity to participate in the discussion? And what about indigenous peoples? Aren't they allowed to discuss it? They've been in Taiwan for the longest time. And I think most of the Taiwanese people, people of different ethnic backgrounds, different cultural backgrounds, they identify themselves as Taiwanese and not as Chinese. And you're limiting and restricting the people who can discuss one country, two systems, or whatever discussions that you want to have with China, to only the Chinese people in Taiwan. I think that's also a bit racist.
Political intelligence and wisdom to work it out, but the two sides need to talk. They have to communicate.
Yes, two sides need to talk. And Tsai Ing-wen wanted to talk and wanted to discuss. Taiwan is doing everything to protect itself. And Taiwan is also open for discussion. But not on terms of the Chinese Communist Party. Both of the parties should be respected, okay?
Now, if one side insists on going forward going for the Taiwan independence, the secessionist movement.
Secessionist movement? How come there is a secessionist movement in Taiwan? Taiwan is not a part of any other country. Taiwan is part of Taiwan. It's an independent nation, with its own army, with its own government, with its own currency, with its own legal system, with its own everything. Secession from whom? Whom does Taiwan want to get independence from? China? So you think that Taiwan is a part of People's Republic of China? Okay, so how come Chinese people need to get a visa to get into Taiwan? How come Taiwan has its own army? How come there are no 5-star red flags on any of the Taiwanese governmental organization offices? How come Taiwanese citizens can travel all around the world and China only has a few countries visa-free? And how come Taiwan is a developed and free democratic society while life in China looks more and more like living in a concentration camp? Secession. If China dares to attack Taiwan, the allies would join. The United States will send their troops to protect. And the Taiwanese army, you actually should be proud of the Taiwanese army. It's a very powerful military force. They will do everything not to let the commies occupy them.
And the other side can always wait from generation to the next generation. Something has to be worked out. And I guess that the people here in Taiwan, at least part of the people here, are getting very impatient.
And the other side can't always wait. It can't always wait for what? For sending troops? For occupying Taiwan? For taking it by force? So, you're just another Lord Ho-Ho, just based in Taiwan. You know who Lord Ho-Ho is, right? You learned some history. Or everything you know about history just comes from the CCP propaganda. You know, professors should hold the best scholarly and ethical standards, right? I don't think that selling your country to a totalitarian regime is abiding by those high ethical standards. Let's take a look at Mr. Cheng. He got his PhD from MIT. Wow, he has a PhD in political science. Then he has his master's degree, Master of Public Policy from Harvard, and BA in political science from Taiwan University. That's a very good educational background. And probably they taught you about those high ethical standards in MIT and Harvard in America, and in Taiwan also. And right now this man is teaching at Taipei's University, at the Department of Public Administration and Policy, while also being a consultant in different organizations and participating in various discussions on Chinese television channels, most of which are just mouthpieces of the CCP. What's also interesting, he also is working as a consultant for the World League for Freedom and Democracy. Firstly, this man's first and last name shouldn't be present in the same sentence with the words freedom and democracy. But this organization is interesting. It used to be called World's Anti-Communist League, and it was founded by Chiang Kai-Shek. And some of the participants, even though being anti-communist, some of them were on the far right side. So it also was a pretty controversial organization. But nevertheless, this guy, who is a consultant at the World League for Freedom and Democracy, is right now selling Taiwan to the Communist Party of China. Isn't this beautiful? So basically, what does this guy do for a living? Traveling to China, giving interviews that Taiwan should belong to China, how bad the DPP government is, that he loves Communist Party, the Taiwanese people are Chinese, things like that. Criticizing Taiwan, brainwashing the students in Taiwan. Some of his students are writing on Taiwanese forums that this guy is really pro-China. And I mean, it's okay to like China, to like Chinese culture, but not the Communist Party, while their troops are facing your country, and why they are sending planes every day to intimidate you. But probably he doesn't associate himself with Taiwan. Maybe he is right. He's a Chinese person in Taiwan, and not Taiwanese. As he doesn't share the same values as the Taiwanese people share. As he doesn't consider Taiwan as a country, and that he wants to sell out this beautiful and vibrant democracy to the totalitarian gang. Well, some people are just evil. And in my opinion, people like Zheng Youping, they're worse than the CCP. Why? Everybody knows that the CCP is evil, that they don't respect any human rights, that they're oppressing their people, that they want to expand, that they want to occupy territories that don't belong to them, and that they like to intimidate their neighbors. Mr. Cheng was not born in China. He was born in Taiwan, and he saw the democratization of Taiwan with his own eyes. He saw how far did Taiwan go, and right now he's holding a citizenship of a country which is free, which is independent, which guarantees all the rights and freedoms. And at the same time, while representing this democracy, what he wants to do? He wants Chinese troops in Taiwan. He wants to sell it out. He wants one country, two systems. He wants Taiwan to be destroyed, like they destroyed Hong Kong. Therefore, in my opinion, people like him are despicable. And what's even worse, he's a professor. He's teaching young Taiwanese. He's brainwashing them with Chinese propaganda. So, beware of the CCP. This is Stan, and I see you in the next one. Bye.
我村里有个村霸，他名字叫翠花，他走十里山路不还钱，都是为了热干面，热干面、胡椒面、清风煲，人一条，翠花还有一个绰号，就是为你总加速递。别看你今天闹的话。